Good morning, Teo. Good morning, family. Well, this morning I got up and it was kind of cloudy out there, but sometimes when it's like that, it's the perfect day to read a story or to look at different books, even do some cooking. But this morning I thought of you and I thought, gee, I think Teo's got a brand new book. And I think it's this one here. And this one is definitely a cool looking cover. The name of the book is The Fantastic Flying Books of Mr. Morris Lessmore. I never knew books could fly. But you know what? I really love what he wrote inside the book, on the inside cover. It says, Morris Lessmore loved words. He loved stories. He loved books. But every story has its upsets. I know I like books, and I know, Teo, you like books too. Because we love a good story, don't we? This one says, everything in Morris Lessmore's life, including his own story, is scattered to the winds. But the power of story will save the day. I wonder how that's going to happen in this story. And I know that this is a new story for you, a new book. So I'm excited to read it to you. And remember, when I turn the page, you're going to hear that little bell, right? Still have my little bell that I'm going to use. So, shall we get started? Did you get your book out? Okay, here we go. Morris Lessmore loved words. He loved stories. He loved books. His life was a book of his own writing, one orderly page after another. He would open it every morning, kind of like us, and write of joys and sorrows, of all that he knew and everything that he hoped for. Yeah, it's okay to write about things that make us happy and things that make us sad too, right? All right, so we have to turn the page. But every story has its upsets. One day, the sky darkened. The winds blew and blew. My goodness, look at that. It almost looks like there's a big tornado. Wow. Till everything Morris knew was scattered, even the words of his book. Isn't that unusual? How would that happen? There we go, changing the page again. He didn't know what to do or which way to go, so he began to wander and wander. There he is. There he is, walking away, wandering further away. Turn the page. Then a happy bit of happenstance came his way. Rather than looking down, as had become his habit, Morris Lessmore looked up. Drifting through the sky above him, Morris saw, what did he see? A lovely lady. She was being pulled along by a festive squadron of flying books. My goodness, look at that. You've got the same thing, I'm sure. Right? Look at that. She's flying up in the air. Oh, gotta ring my bell. Morris wondered if his book could fly. but it couldn't. It would only fall to the ground with a depressing thud, which is what my book would do, I'm sure. The flying lady knew Morris simply needed a good story, so she sent him her favorite. The book was an amiable fellow and urged Morris to follow him. The book led him to an extraordinary building where many books apparently nested. Nested, hey? Kind of like birds nesting. Wow, interesting. Morris slowly walked inside and discovered the most mysterious and inviting room he had ever seen. Wow, isn't that a really cool room with all those books? I wish I had a library like that. It was filled with the fluttering of countless pages, and Morris could hear the faint chatter of 1,000 different stories, as if each book was whispering an invitation to adventure. Wow, how exciting for him. My page is stuck here. There we go. Then his new friend flew up to him and landed on his arm. It held itself open as if hoping to be read. The room rustled to life. And so Morris's life among the books began. How about that? Can you see that book standing on his arm? It's got legs. Morris tried to keep the books in some sort of order, but they always mixed themselves up. The tragedies needed cheering up and would visit with the comedies. The encyclopedias, weary of facts, would relax with the comic books and fictions. All in all, it was an agreeable jumble. Morris found great satisfaction in caring for the books, gently fixing those with fragile bindings and unfolding the dog-eared pages of others. You know, when you fold that little corner, that's called a dog ear, isn't it? Sometimes Morris would become lost in a book and scarcely emerge for days. Wow, days and days. Look at him, he's hanging on to every word. That's cool how they've made that into a really neat drawing, isn't it? Look at him. Hanging on to the words. Turn the page. Oh, and the next page. Hey, he's reading stories in French. That's all written in French there, isn't it? So he's reading and reading every day. All day. Let's turn the page. Morris liked to share the books with others. Sometimes it was a favorite that everyone loved, and other times he found a lonely little volume whose tale was seldom told. But everyone's story matters, said Morris, and all the books agreed. I have to agree too. Every story matters, doesn't it, Teo? Let's turn the page. At night, after all the stories that needed telling had been told and everyone had settled down to their proper places on the shelves, the great big dictionary would get in the last word. You see that? There's Z's all over the place. That means they're all sleeping. It was then that Morris Lessmore would once again write in his own book. He wrote of his joys and sorrows and all that he knew and everything that he hoped for. That's a good story. I would like to read his book. Look at the big book he's laying on. Wow. He seems like he's got lots of great big books all around him. And the big full moon. That's very cool, isn't it? Got to turn the page. The days passed. So did the months. And there he is, outside, writing and writing. And then years and years. Wow, what's happening to him now? He's getting older, isn't he? Because he's been writing for a long time. We'll turn the page. And Morris Lessmore became stooped and crinkly. Kind of like me and Granddad, I think. So that means he got a little bit older. But guess what? The books never changed. Their stories stayed the same. Now his old friends took care of him the way he had once cared for them, and they read themselves to him each night. Wow, that's very cool, isn't it? He's surrounded by books, isn't he, Teo? Then one day he filled the last page in his book. He looked up and said with a bittersweet sigh, I guess it's time for me to move on. There he is, sitting in his big chair. The books were sorry, but they understood. Morris put on his hat and took his cane, and he went to the door. He turned and smiled, then waved goodbye. I'll carry you all in here, he said, and guess what? He pointed to his heart. The books waved their pages, and Morris Lessmore flew away. And as he flew, he changed back to the way he'd been that long ago day when they'd all first met. The books were quiet for a while. Then they noticed that Morris Lessmore had left something behind. Oh, what did he leave behind? It's his book, said his oldest friend. Inside was Morris's story. All of his joys and sorrows, all that he knew and everything that he hoped for. Oh, look at that. His book is on display right there. Then the books heard a small, expectant sound. There in the doorway was a little girl. She looked around with wonder. Then something fantastic happened. What could it be? Morris Lessmore's book flew up to her and opened its pages. So the girl began to read. And so our story ends as it began. with the opening of a book. That's how we started our story, with the opening of this book. And on to the next book, right? That's a very nice story. Oh, I really liked it. How about you? Did you like it? That's a very, very nice story. And I think it says on the cover that this story inspired an Academy Award-winning short film. Wow. I wonder what the film looks like. I bet it's pretty cool. I think I might have to look into that and see if I can find it. Well, I'm going to cherish this story, cherish the time I had reading it to you. I'm really happy that we got to spend some time together, even if I can't see you in person. You know I miss you and I love you, and I hope you're having a great day. Love you. See you soon. Bye-bye for now.